Welcome to our first episode of The Cutting Edge. I'm Zima. The Cutting Edge is our brand new interview series where I'll be connecting with leaders to discuss a range of topics related to workforce development, education, and training. And today I'm really excited to be connecting with John Brauer. John's the Executive Director of the California Labor Federation's Workforce and Economic Development Program, and he's EDGE's Vice President. Welcome, John.
Hi, Zima. Glad to be here.
So glad you could make it. So let's just dive on in. You know, people have heard of EDGE, but a lot of people don't know that EDGE's board is made up of organizations, not individuals. So can you tell me a little bit about your organization and your role in it?
Sure. The California Labor Federation is the umbrella organization for the labor unions in the state of California. We represent workers in every sector and every part of the economy and in every part of the state of California. The program that I run, the Workforce and Economic Development Program, is designed to have our labor unions work with other workforce and education stakeholders, be they employers, K-12 system, community colleges, the local workforce boards, community-based organizations and others, in creating high road partnerships up and down the state. So one day of the week we could be involved in working with hospitality workers in Los Angeles. The next could be construction workers in an apprentice program. The next day we could be working with a K-12 system to design a partnership academy. So we're, even though we're small, we're in all parts of the California workforce system and the economy.
Small but mighty, and you know, just incredible work that you do for workers in California. So, you know, John, you've been on the EDGE board for a really long time. Can you tell me how long you've been on the EDGE board and how have you seen the organization grow since you served on the board?
So I've been there since 2012 when I took this job. I joined the EDGE board, did not know that EDGE existed when I was applying to or until I became the workforce board director. I would say that EDGE has really moved itself over the last 8 years. We have really gained credibility with different parts, particularly of the state legislature and the state bureaucracy around the idea of promoting real career pathways and building effective education and workforce programs and around policy, particularly in Sacramento, so that EDGE has really come to be looked upon by legislators, staff for key committees, for key departments like Department of Finance or the Legislative Analyst's Office or other stakeholders as having some real expertise and frankly a collective voice that comes from a variety of stakeholders making up the EDGE coalition itself.
Yeah, and you know, EDGE has an incredible reputation in the Capitol, and a lot of that goes to you and of course the rest of the team. You know, we're a mighty bunch, and I always, when I describe EDGE, I talk about how unusual of a group that we are, and if we could come to an agreement at our board table, we have no problem in the Capitol.
Right.
All right, so as you know, we recently adopted and released our new policy agenda, and I'm wondering if you could talk about one of our priorities that aligns with one of your organizational goals for the coming year.
I think those policy priorities, the one that I've always and continue to be interested in is really creating career pathway pieces and looking at either things like stackable credentials and certificates and making that piece work. We have in the system itself a lot of industry created certificates that my employer partners and our labor partners help create, but we also have within California, the community college system and the K-12 system are basically among the largest workforce and education systems in the United States. So there's, by tackling that kind of issue, there's an opportunity to have some real impact in looking at system change. The other is, I think, increasingly promoting standards and practices and resources towards the creation of earn and learn strategies, the ability of folks to gain knowledge, skills, and abilities while also being able to get an income is really important. So things like the state has a major goal of trying to increase the number of non-traditional, meaning non-construction trades and non-firefighter apprentice programs in California, and doing that in a way that's both going to bring the system to scale, but also result in quality apprentice programs and frankly in quality jobs are big priorities. And then I think the other is our work around data and longitudinal looking at the effectiveness of the system. And so the data systems in the state that various public agencies are not interconnected. They're not necessarily transparent. And so EDGE's work in trying to move some of that to see how effective different parts of the system are and what's working and what's not working for different communities and populations of workers, whether particularly for us, obviously, as EDGE, underserved or unserved communities in California.
Absolutely. I mean, so much work to do, and I can't tell you how incredibly excited I am to partner with you in the coming year to do the hard work. So much opportunity. Granted, it's a really hard time, you know, with COVID-19 and a lot of barriers and challenges, but I feel very fortunate that you're in leadership with EDGE at this time so we could do the hard work together. So speaking of your leadership role, you were recently named the Vice President of EDGE, or elected Vice President of EDGE, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And I would love to hear a bit with that lens of Vice President. What is your vision for EDGE while you're in this role?
I kind of view it as a board member. In part, it's to make sure that all of the board is heard and included in giving the parameters and priorities of our overall agenda is sort of one piece of that. I think the other side of that coin then is to figure out how we as board members can support you and Anna and the staff in being as effective as possible on a day-to-day basis, and set the boundaries and get out of the way or help carry, I guess, is probably the best way to put it.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, with that, let's wrap with a fun question. I would love to know, where's your favorite place to vacation in California?
My family and I go to the South Shore of Lake Tahoe every year. We rent these rustic cabins at a place called Camp Richardson, and people come from sometimes all over the country, but we hang out there for a week, and everybody can do something collective, whether that's play a game or hit the water or just sit and read a book or take a nap. And so that's kind of my favorite and place to go.
I love it.
Unfortunately, I spent this year inside a cabin, mostly doing grant writing work. So this was the odd year out in that equation.
Well, I guess if you have to write a grant, write it in Tahoe.
Right.
I have to say too, I love Tahoe, and it's like a totally different place depending on what time of year you go, right?
Right.
Well, John, It's really been great to hang out with you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and so we can tell the story of the EDGE Coalition. So thanks, Zima.
And we'll see you next time on The Cutting Edge.